morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Monday, 20th day of November, year of our Lord 2017. Welcome to the John Moore Show. Your prepper tip of the day. I want to encourage all of you, if you don't already have your ballistic helmets and body armor, to get yourself ballistic helmets and body armor for every member of your team. Keep in mind that the youngsters will grow up and need them in the not too distant future, so be sure you get extra ones for the youngsters and possibly for friends that might need them that don't know that at the moment. That's your prepper tip of the day. We have patient waiting in the green room, my friend Jimmy Ginsling. Jimmy is the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. We spend 2 hours every Monday talking about firearms, all things related to firearms, the gun culture, ammunition, optics, gun laws, the entire gun culture, I guess you could say. And beginning this morning, we don't pre-rehearse these calls. Beginning this morning, we're going to have a firearm tip of the week. I know I'm catching Jimmy totally off guard here, but he and I can take a few minutes to think about that, and before the end of these 2 hours, we will have a firearm tip of the week. Good morning, Jimmy.
Good morning, boss. And you may have caught me a little bit off guard, but only by a few seconds.
Okay.
Tip of the week that I was going to bring up was one that I ran into this weekend. We had a customer come out and pick up some stuff, and he was discussing on one of his pistols that he was having trouble adjusting the rear sight. And we got to look at it a little bit, and over time, since most of the time that people get their sights adjusted and everything, they forget about them, the screw, the windage screw on his pistol, gotten some crud in it, got a little bit kind of grunged up and didn't want to turn properly. So it took a little bit of effort back and forth, and we kindly got it freed up. And once we got it out, got the sight disassembled, we put a little bit of dab of grease on it after we cleaned it and put it all back together and went out and resighted it in. So, tip of the week, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got a rifle or a handgun and it has adjustable rear sights on it, maybe once a year, take and on the rear sights of the pistols and everything, most of the time you'll have a center screw that adjusts your elevation. And the easiest way I can say to do that is to take a piece of tape, go across the rear sight and down the side so it can't pop all the way up, remove that screw, look it over real good, clean it if it's got any crunge on it, put just a dab of grease on it, and then reinsert the screw, and then check the windage screw. That's the one that's on the side that will move the sight to the left or to the right, and do the same thing. Now, some of the windage screws are captured. They will not come all the way out. So what I recommend is to take a very light oil and put a drop on there and run that sight back and forth a couple of times. Now, before you do this, take and use a small scribe, end of a needle or whatever, and put a small scratch mark on your rear sight so that goes from the sight to the base itself. And then after you've moved it back and forth and then brought it back, you can line it up with that, go out, sight it in, make fine adjustments and everything else. That way, later on down the line, if, say, your wife has to use that pistol or your child has to use that pistol, the sights may not be perfect for them, so they've got to adjust them. And if we do happen to be in a grid-down situation or this is a need to go out and hunt game, the having a good sight picture and sights that are on are very, very important. So at least once a year. Wintertime's a great time to do that because a lot of people don't get to the range, which is going to be part of our subject today. And by taking a little bit of time now, in the future, if that has to be changed up or anything, then you're not going to have the problems that my friend had. with a screw that does not want to move, or if it does, it moves just enough and then sticks or something. So that's your firearms tip of the day, John. Anything to add?
Well, not really. It's part of overall maintenance on any firearm to make sure that everything is clean, properly lubricated, properly adjusted, and in good working order. The rear sight, of course, is critical to a rifle or a pistol as far as that goes. And I don't see anything that I would change about your advice. Not really. I think it's good advice, and people can certainly improve the condition and the longevity of their firearms if they follow that little bit of advice there, Jimmy.
Well, it's one of those things that quite often I've run into sites that people have bought a new rifle or bought one at a gun show or something, and if you can hear the tap dancing around, my puppy just decided to come in and say good morning, and of course Theodore's magic tail. But they'll go to adjust the sights or something on it and twist a screw off. And ladies and gentlemen, those screws are very, very tiny, and 90% of the time, the only fix is to replace the whole sight, which, if it's an antique firearm or older models, sometimes sights are not available. So another idea that you might try is when you do buy something like that, put a drop of penetrating oil on it. Our very best that we can recommend, now this is only for metal sights, ladies and gentlemen. If the sights that you have are on plastic or any kind of plastic sight, do not use this because you'll regret it and you'll be very mad at me. But it's a 50-50 mixture of automatic transmission fluid and acetone. And you don't have to mix very much of it up, but it does need to be in a metal container or a glass container. And you mix up, just a couple of ounces of that, and then you can dip a screwdriver into it to apply a couple of drops to the screw areas. And that is one of the best knocker loose, penetrating oil, whatever you want to call it, that I've ever seen. And I'd first seen that when I was in the Coast Guard. Now, you get in a saltwater condition and everything, that does a number on any nuts and bolts, especially if they're just good old 4130 steel or something like that. So that little tip right there on your screws and everything will help knock any of the corrosion loose, lubricate them slightly, and allow you to be able to move them. Another thing to do, ladies and gentlemen, do not use just regular screwdrivers on your firearms. If you've got a Harbor Freight anywhere close, for about $14, you can buy a 100-piece insert kit for your screwdrivers with the replaceable tips that have the little quarter-inch hex tip in the end of it. The screwdriver blades that are in that are machine cut. Also, some people call them a gunsmithing cut. They don't slip. They fit very nicely down into the screw slots. And that little kit covers all the sizes and even metric. So spend a few extra bucks, go down and pick one of those up, keep it in your toolkit, and it's got everything in that kit. It's got Phillips, it's got regular, it's got Torx, it's got safety Torx, the ones that have the little button in the end of it, and a few odd ones that you've never seen before and probably will never use, but if the chance arises, you've got one. So, and I think those kits only cost, John, like maybe $12, $13, something in that neighborhood.
I've got one of those kits myself, and that I use for small electronics, eyeglasses, things like that. I'm probably going to upgrade and get a larger kit to take care of the larger screws where you get into 1/8 of an inch, a 1/4 inch, and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing I would add to the mix with the acetone ATF mix, I would use Amsoil synthetic ATF. You're going to have better lubrication with synthetic ATF, and the operators are all going to synthetic lubricants for their firearms, by the way, and synthetics eliminate all the problems you've got with natural oil products.
Exactly. Now, what John's referring to, ladies and gentlemen, back in the old days when we had cars with carburetors, a lot of our listeners and everything are going to know what we're talking about. Instead of direct fuel injection and all this other stuff, we had what was known as a carburetor. One of the drawbacks of the carburetor was that if you parked the vehicle for, let's say it's your RV, and you parked it for the wintertime and summertime, you're going to go get ready to go out and go camping and everything, and it will not start. You can try everything in the world up to, and even though not recommended, starting fluid and such as that, dribbling gas down the carburetor, not a very healthy thing if you don't know exactly what you're doing. And it'll run for a moment and then die. Well, the reason for that is all petroleum products, when they evaporate or flash off, is a technical term for it, they leave behind a residue that becomes a varnish. And the older ash oils, they actually had a bit of ash in them, part of the lubricating process. Once that oil itself would evaporate off, actually the solvent that makes the oil viscous, it leaves that residue behind. And I haven't thought about that, John. I'm going to have to try that with the Amsoil. I'm going to have to contact you about some of that.
Right.
But
well, we can talk about
the
that.
synthetic, what it does, ladies and gentlemen, since it is based on a non-petroleum base, it doesn't leave that residue. And anytime that you can not leave a undesirable product behind and still have the lubricating, it's a much better way to go, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, John, you're exactly right. The synthetics, ladies and gentlemen, do not have the problem of the varnish, and that way you don't have a buildup of the grunge on there, because that in itself becomes a hindrance. What you're trying to do to lubricate is actually adding to the problem.
That's right.
Good point,
right.
John. I hadn't thought about that, and even though you mentioned it last week, the new Amsoil gun cleaning stuff.
Right.
That's an interesting point about the frog lube products, is that they're biodegradable. There are absolutely no petroleum products in them. So, just food for thought, ladies and gentlemen, that when you're doing the maintenance and everything, think about what you're using to maintain and some of the hazards that can come from it. I had a friend, John, when I was growing up, use wheel bearing grease to lube his bolts and everything up on his rifles.
Uh-huh.
And in the summertime in West Texas, that was perfect.
Right.
In the wintertime, up in the Gila Mountains of New Mexico during deer season, that grease would get so cold and so thick that it was an absolute effort to operate the bolt. And also, it could actually prevent the round from chambering, because if there was any grease that got around the edge of the round when it was going in, it would prevent it from chambering all the way. So, we live and we learn, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
So, bit by bit,
right.
We try to improve our future. And with everything that's going on in the world right now, maintenance is probably the number one that we need to focus on. But number two, and the subject I wanted to talk about at least the first hour today, is training. With the wintertime coming on, a lot of folks are going to be spending more time inside. The holidays are here. They're going to have 1,001 things that they've got to plan and think about and do. But it's also the time that most people neglect their training platform. And in doing so, let's say that our training and our skills get a little bit corroded as well, just like they do when we neglect the guns and everything else. So I'd like to talk a little bit today about training. And as a side note on it, group training. We've all discussed and talked about, grid down situations, EMP attacks, EMP from solar, all the many things that can cause us to be in an emergency situation, natural disasters, hurricane storms, blizzards, and such as that. And we all know and understand that the purpose of the police is not to protect us. The purpose of the police is to file a report and investigate afterwards. So if you are in a situation, let's say a blizzard comes into the Northeast and shuts down, ice storms shut down the electricity and everything just goes totally whack job. Right now is the time that you need to be thinking about on your training not being an individual. And the subject today is in the training is to look at small unit tactics. In that, what we're talking about is teams of like 4 or 6 individuals. I'm not going to say guys because there's some girls out there that'll outshoot me in a heartbeat. One of them is my wife. Close quarters combat, I hand her the gun and keep the magazines loaded. But you need to have a plan, ladies and gentlemen. It could be based on a neighborhood watch program, neighbors that you know and trust. That's the hardest part, is to find out, if you don't already, which individuals can be depended on and which ones that are simply leeches or they follow the crowd. And if you're in a residential neighborhood and you do know your neighbors, maybe it's time, since the holidays are here, to maybe go over and take them a pie or a card or something.
Hold that thought, Jim.
Bring up the situation.
We got a break. Call number is 800-313-9443. Gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaner is $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I said again, 800-592-9543. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need the need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at the Liberty. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 20th of November, visiting with Jimmy Gensling with Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. Let's continue to... Jimmy, go ahead.
All right. We were talking about when the break came in and everything about small unit tactics. On Tim's flash drive that he sells, there's a section on there that has a lot of military manuals and things. And in that section, there are several on troop movements, on small unit tactics, on scouting, marksmanship. There's a good one out there, and I'm trying to remember what the field manual number is, but it's on the designated rifleman. And not only does it talk about rifle marksmanship and everything else, it talks about being an observer. And all of your military sniper manuals, sniping is only part of their job. They're forward intelligence gathering units is what they are, ladies and gentlemen. And in those sections on any of those books, they're going to have areas on map reading, compass, drawing out maps, drawing out areas of operation and things like that. Yes, it's all military and everything, but when you come down to it and you've got possibly the threat of looters and you're developing into your neighborhood watch program, or if you're in the rural areas like John and Tim and some of the others are and everything, you're working with your neighbors up and down the road. And the two most important aspects of that, one is communications. Tom talks about that really well on Fridays, so I won't deal into that too much. But the other is understanding where people are at, or what they're observing when they communicate to you. So having a map of your neighborhood and how far it is from point A to point B marked on that map, on your personal map, then you've done ranging already. And then when you're conversing with someone, say someone's out walking the block and everything, and they see some looters coming, and they're coming down the alley between Ash and Sycamore Street, if you don't have a map there that you can point out to your family members and others where Ash and Sycamore Street is and where that alley is, then it's kind of difficult for them to understand what you're explaining on a plan. And, you know, John and I being in the military, and Tim, we all understand that you have a plan and then you have a backup plan, because plan A is going to fail, and the backup plan has always got a reserve plan because it's going to fall apart somewhere. So don't settle on one idea for a plan. But getting back to the small unit tactics, the things that you need to look at, and this is a perfect time of year to do it, because you're not going to be able to determine when the disaster strikes. We all hope it would be in summertime where it'd be nice and sunny and warm and everything else. But if it happens January the 3rd or, you know, February the 1st, and you've got 4 feet of snow outside and you haven't planned for this, that's going to be quite a bit of change. The John mentioned the body armor and the ballistics helmets. Nice part about it is we do carry those, so people that are looking into them, they can contact us. The lightweight ballistic helmets run, I think it's $219, and they are level 3A rifle type. So, and then we've already talked about the ballistic panels and body armor before. But equipping your teams and having communications, that all works out great. But unless you train together, go out to the range and get warmed up on your marksmanship and everything, maybe have a couple of side bets on who can have the tightest group or whatever, and then start looking at tactics. If you look back at those manuals that I was mentioning earlier, the two primary subjects that they cover is how to move, and that is either in a long line, in a column, abreast, whatever, the benefits and the drawbacks of each, and then also hand signals and communications when you are moving. So you can sit down and, if nothing else, go out to the woods and plan that you're going to go from Bob's house to Fred's house, which is 3 miles away, and it's over the hill. And
hold that thought. Hold that thought. We got a break here, Jimmy. We'll be back after the break.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday the 20th of November. We have something new at my website as of a few hours ago. If you scroll down the left side, let's see, not too far down, it says, ICE Agent Commits Suicide, commentary by John Moore. I don't want to steal my own thunder. It's an important article. I believe people should read it and incorporate the knowledge they get into their very being. And we'll just leave it at that for the time being. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners for sale. This is my home business. I use mine every night. If you have pain issues with, let's say joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain, the energy cleaner will most likely help. Not getting a great night's sleep, most likely help there also. Are you risking anything when you get an energy cleaner? Not really, because I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can read up on energy cleaner at my website, get the details. The patent application information is fascinating, by the way, involving, for example, Carillion photography, a Russian photographic technique that can photograph the energy field around your body. Very neat technology. And, of course, the mattress pads that go with the energy cleaner. I'm the guy that reconfigures the mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. I'm the guy that boxes up the energy cleaners and the mattress pads and takes them to the little country post office at Cherryville, where you can get all the coffee you want to drink for 75 cents. They just had a 50% increase from 50 cents recently. 75 cents for a coffee cup that never empties. I do take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. Checks can be sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. I have a toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Jimmy, do you know any place, any public restaurant where you can get a cup of coffee for 75 cents these days?
No.
All you
as
can
a
drink?
big avid coffee drinker, considering that my normal cup is a good old, almost like the Navy cups and everything from our favorite diner on the way to Albuquerque. But my travel mug's 42 ounces.
Right.
So
right.
that would be quite the deal for anybody that likes coffee. And plus,
absolutely,
I bet the best thing about the coffee is the conversation that goes with it.
Well, there's a round table there, and the good old boys, these are men that make their living cutting timber, working in the mines, some retired blue-collar guys, and they're almost all avid deer hunters. The deer season ends tomorrow, and everybody's got a deer story, it seems like. So, yeah, it's a fascinating conversation, and you never know what's going to come up there.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get back to the topic at hand.
All right. We were discussing small unit tactics and everything. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that sounds, some of our listeners that haven't been listening very long or anything might think, oh, my goodness, this is the militia stuff and all that. No, it is not the horror side that most people are led to believe on that. When there is a disaster of any kind, the law enforcement and first responders are going to be stretched incredibly thin. They're going to be focusing on hotspots and on crowd control and their own families. A lot of people forget that, but, police officers, law enforcement, first responders, they've got families as well. And the movies are great. Always shows them as the great heroes, and believe me, I believe that most of those guys are heroes. Few bad apples don't spoil the whole bunch. But they're going to be focused on that as well, ladies and gentlemen. So no matter what it is, you, me, John, everybody else is going to be down the line somewhere, unless it is something really catastrophic, a house on fire that threatens an entire subdivision or something. So you're going to be back to the point where it's you and your neighbors. And I heard it put one time that no man is an island, and an island never won a battle. Meaning in that, ladies and gentlemen, is if it comes down to where you do have to deal with looters, if you do have to deal with transients, anything like that, you cannot stay up 24/7 and watch over everything. You have to have enough people to do it in shifts and, take the load off of individuals that have many other jobs to do. Say you've got one individual that's the hunter of the group, and his main job is to go out and find game and keep meat on the table for everyone. Don't forget fishing. Fishing is another way of doing that. A good toss net or gill net can be a great asset in a situation like this if you've got a river and water. But in the small unit tactics, you've got to have communication and you've got to have teamwork. And since it's not going to be a group of individuals that have worked and trained together like military units for a year, 2 years, 5 years at a time, now's the time to actually start thinking about this before anything happens. Let's go back to our blizzard hitting the Northeast that we started off with. Once that blows in and everything, transportation is going to basically come to a standstill. You've got the snow on the ground, so tracking anything or keeping track of movements and everything is going to be fairly simple. But the one aspect that really is a force multiplier is altitude. If there's a 3-story house in the group and someone can observe from either the roof or from a room or rooms on the highest point that they are able to see around and everything, that's great. Even if you've got a tree stand or a deer stand that you can put up, anything to give you elevation to watch is going to be great. However, with the tree stand, the deer stand, or anything like that, you also are visible. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you can see it, you can be seen. So camouflage, concealment, something has got to be thought about there. And John was talking about, having your body armor and your ballistic helmets and everything. The new ballistic helmets, like we're carrying now, weigh about 2/3 of what the Kevlar helmets that the military uses. They're much lighter because of advances and offer the same protection, so it's food for thought. But when you look at these situations of being a grid down, looters, transients probably aren't going to show up the first day or second day. Third day on is where a little bit more observant situation would probably be called into hand.
Well, it depends where you are.
Yes,
whether
if you're real close to a large city or something like that, yeah, it's going to be day 2.
South
maybe
LA,
even the evening of day 1,
South
depending on what happens.
South Los Angeles, you're talking in minutes, not days.
Yeah, well, I'm still trying to decide if South Los Angeles is part of the U.S., John. Well, that's a subject for another day. California, they passed a new law, and I'll get the information out to you here in a little bit. But one of the caveats of the new law is you cannot will your weapons to your children or anything. They have to either be out of state within X number of days or destroyed. So, Yahoo, California. But getting back to small tactics and everything, ladies and gentlemen, this is where you have to look at your equipment lists and planning. So, now the wintertime, plan once a month, go into the range with your friends, your neighbors, whatever. Do your regular pistol and rifle practice and all that, but then start practicing moving as a team. Quickest way to wipe out any unit is to let them travel as a small bunch, gabbing while they're walking. It doesn't work that way. You spread out. Every person is watching and keeping track of everything around them, and they have developed hand signals so they don't have to talk. So most of this information can be found in those manuals that I was talking about. Probably the easiest title to look for when you're doing this would be scouting. Not necessarily Boy Scouting or Girl Scouting, but the Boy Scouting was originally a paramilitary organization, hence the uniforms and everything else. But you want to be able to, A, know your community, know your area, and then know your region. In a world-class situation, region would more likely be your state. In the local thing, region would be like your county. And you have to plan ahead. You have to think about this. Resources, stores, logistics, moving equipment, whatever. You have to work on that as a team. A wife and a husband, or wife, husband, and 1 or 2 kids does not make a very efficient fire team. So You have to depend on neighbors or friends that are like-minded and solid and can work together. So that's just something to think about, ladies and gentlemen, because wintertime, people don't train. It's too cold outside. I'm telling you, bundle up, get out there, and do it. Because those that don't plan for any condition, that's one thing about the apple seed, John. The only thing that will call an apple seed shoot is lightning. If there is a thunderstorm and you can hear thunder, then you have the potential of being struck by lightning. And at an apple seed, if it starts raining, oh well. If it starts snowing, oh well. I've got pictures of apple seeds where the shooters are laying down in the prone position and they're doing a long string where they're actually down there for 4 or 5 minutes, and they actually look like a snowdrift because it's all piled up on them. More than once when I was going for my rifleman badge up at Roswell, the range that we shot on up there, we had a couple of rainstorms and literally laid in a puddle all day long. And you plan around that, ladies and gentlemen. There's no such thing as a fair weather soldier. Not one that's successful anyway.
Right. Well, Jimmy, when I did my final range qualification and basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, it was a late winter day, a cold drizzle, and of course the training went on, and we did in fact go ahead and qualify. But these magazines I was picking up, they had gritty sand on them that I had to force the magazine into the rifle, and dealing with rain in my face, rain on the sights, rain on the peep sight, and I although I've scored sharp expert every time after that, I scored marksman that day, and I was quite proud of scoring marksman under those very horrific conditions of being cold and wet and dealing with sand and mud and all the rest of it. A lot of guys didn't qualify at all, of course, and had to go back to the range at a later time. But that's realistic training is very helpful, and something that'll help everybody if they're interested in pursuing this is getting involved in paintball competition. All the skill sets are duplicate what you would use in close quarters combat. And in fact, the powers that be, federal government, does everything they can to get hold of list of subscribers to paintball publications, and a list of members of paintball organizations. They have a very great concern of anybody who's participated in paintball competition because of the skill sets they develop are very excellent skill sets, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. And we've had a couple of times out here in our area that people have tried to set up paintball courses and organizations, and it's worked to some extent, but the new wears off of it fairly quickly. And another one, ladies and gentlemen, that's excellent for practice is airsoft. The quality of these airsoft rifles and pistols that are out there now are far and beyond what they started with a couple of years ago. Of course, we would expect that. And airsoft, as long as you watch the velocity, because some of these things are pretty fast. I've seen a couple of them that are 600-plus feet per second. And
yeah,
that will raise a welt.
That'll raise a welt.
Oh, yeah. And they're excellent for force-on-force training. And by that, I mean, practice in your own home, clearing your rooms, things like that, and force-on-force. In that same thought, make sure that you've got eye protection. They make these beautiful little face shields so that you don't get welts and look like you've got chickenpox or something after a run. But get these together and work with your units. Work in the neighborhood. You don't have to go to the range. Get the airsoft out and work on Team A take on Team B right there in the block. A couple of your neighbors may think you're slightly off kilter, but what the heck, they may get interested and want to join in. So, and if the young people that are in your neighborhood or in your area want to get involved with it, by all means, get them in there. Teach them the safety rules. It's a great way to introduce young people to firearms that maybe their parents are not part of the firearms culture. So young people get interested in it, get them involved. And then at some point in time, you may have the opportunity, with their parents' permission, to take them to the range and introduce them to real firearms. So it becomes a win-win no matter how you look at it, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
And
another advantage of the airsoft is you can use it for training in a church and not mess the place up like you would with paintball, obviously. Here's our break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 20th of November, visiting with Jimmy Ginsling with Desert Eagle Shooters at deserteagleshooters.com. Jimmy, business tend to have different aspects go different directions depending on the season. We're coming up on the holiday season here. What difference in your business do you expect to be seeing in your business the next
Right now, we've got two, what we call the Christmas shows coming up, 1st of December. And from our experience last year, a lot of folks are going to be looking at accessories and add-ons to give as gifts and such as that. Firearms, that's kind of a back-and-forth thing at any of the shows. But reloading has picked up this time of year because, again, winter. A lot of folks are inside, get bored, and so they'll start building up or replenishing reloading supplies, powder orders, primer orders, bullets, and such. That's about where we're at right now on that. The last couple of shows, we've done really well with the reloading. And I've got a couple of articles I've got to get to Tim and have him get up on the web page. I've got to talk to him because there's a couple of other things that aren't working on it. But these articles both cover using the Lee hand loader for reloading cartridges. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've always wanted to get into to reloading and everything but don't have the space, even for a small press, or you want to just see if you can work it and how it turns out for you, the Lee hand loader is a $40 plus a little bit investment, and it has absolutely everything that you need in a box that's about 3 by 5 inches, except for the primer, the powder, and the bullet. With this one little kit, you can reload one caliber, and the only added tool that you get that you need to have is a nylon mallet or something like that. You don't want steel. And that's how I got started reloading back in about 67, loading for my 44 mag. And nowadays, it's amazing. It is back in vogue, as one friend put it. Friend and customer, because he ordered 2 new sets. And it's a very simple unit, ladies and gentlemen. It fits in your pocket of your cargo pants, and you can put a small container of powder in your bag and a couple of hundred primers and some bullets, and you can reload anywhere that you're at. And so that with coming up this time of the year with winter and most of the hunting seasons are over, the ones that are remaining here are either a few specialty hunts like ibex and oryx or the bow hunts that are left. So with wintertime, people being inside, it's going to be a lot of reloading stuff that we'll be looking to move.
All right. Hold that thought, Jimmy. Hold that thought. We got a break. The call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 20th of November. Perfect tip of the day. I want to encourage all of you to get your ballistic helmets and ballistic body armor. By the way, if you call ballistic body armor bulletproof, well, I'll know, and anybody knowledgeable knows that you don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as a bulletproof vest. Never has been, never will be. There are, however, bullet-resistant vests and ballistic vests that are very helpful in keeping innocent people alive. That's your tip of the day. Okay, we're visiting with Jimmy Gensling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. You have a question or comment, anything related to firearms, the gun culture, rifle, shotguns, pistols, ammunition, optics, give us a call. The call number is 800-313-9443. Let's continue, Jimmy.
All right, going along with John's tip of the day, top of the hour, we'll go ahead and touch again on the firearms tip of the day. Is now's the time, since it's basically the downtime for most people and everything in the wintertime, to look at the sights and everything on your handgun and your rifles. The screws that adjust windage and elevation are the most neglected and biggest forgotten item on your firearm. So it pays at this time of year to go ahead and disassemble that as far as it will go. Most of the time, like we said in the first hour, the windage screw is a capture screw. It will not be removed. But a light amount of lubrication on them, make sure that they're free and functioning properly, can always save you headaches later on if there is a major sight adjustment for another user. And so any questions or anything like that, you can always email me at jimmy@hdc-nm.com. That's Juliet, India, Mike, India, at Hotel, Delta, Charlie, hyphen, New Mexico, NM.com. And we'll help you work through that one and everything else. John, shifting gears for just a moment, because normally on the second hour I think we pick up a few more listeners. There's something that is really demanding everybody's attention right now. Years ago, when I was in high school, I learned a phrase, trying to learn how to type, that now is a time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. And don't know who to attribute that to. Don't know who said it. Made a great tool for typing teachers to frustrate young people with. But right now, this very day, the only thing in this nation that is holding up and stopping the Hearing Protection Act and national reciprocity from going anywhere is one individual, and that is Ryan, the Speaker of the House. He's pulled both of those off the floor. Don't have them anywhere for a vote right now. The phone number that you need to remember, I'm going to give you two of them, is 202-224-3121 or 202-225-3121. Both of those numbers will get you to the Capitol Switchboard, Washington, D.C. There's 4 phone calls that you need to make. Actually, I'm going to give you a 5th one. But the first one is to your congressman. Find out if they supported these bills. If they didn't, admonish them for it. If they did, ask them to help you get it out of retirement or wherever it is right now and get it to the floor. The next 2 phone calls that you're going to make are to your senators. And there are a lot of senators that have signed on to a couple of these bills, and there's many, many more that haven't. So, again, you're going to find out if they're familiar with these bills. Do they support them? If they do, give them a kudos. Let them know you appreciate it. If they don't, admonish them. They work for you. Don't threaten them. Be very polite, because you're going to get a staff member. Be very polite, and don't give them any cause for fear. Believe me, some of these liberals, you can sneeze and they're fearful. But we need to be on the phone to these people. The 4th phone call is Ryan's office. Now, they're going to tell you that if you're not in his district or whatever, you're not a constituent. Wrong. Being Speaker of the House, everyone in the United States is his constituent. And you, basically, when you get through to his office, ask them to ask him, why is he stopping this right now? Why is he not got this onto the floor? Would he like to be primary? Because, believe me, his home state has got 2 individuals that they're looking at primarying him. So that's another food for thought. And finally, the 5th one I'm going to give you is, oh darn it, not Conley, Senate Leader John.
McConnell?
Yes, thank you. Is his office. And basically demand that when that does come to the Senate, they don't screw with it. They vote on it and then carry on. Ladies and gentlemen, these people, ever since Trump has got into office, these individuals have got someone for president right now that came from nowhere. He's not part of the good old boys club. It wasn't his time. It was never going to be his time. And these morons think that they can make him look bad by not getting legislation through, where the Congress has got over, I believe it's 400 or 600 pieces of legislation that they have passed that is sitting in the Senate that hasn't moved an inch, and obviously they don't have any intent to. So make those phone calls, ladies and gentlemen, and if you want to divide it up and do 1 a day or do 3 of them in one day and 2 of them on another day, whatever, but call them every week and hammer them. Because that's the only thing they're going to listen to is constituents and the people. And if I would really like to see the phone lines and everything get totally clogged up, John. I'd like to see us shut down the phone system in D.C.
Well, we'll do what we can. We will do what we can.
That's all we can do, ladies and gentlemen. But all of us have complained about this from time to time. And all of us have been frustrated by this from time to time. And I blame myself as much as I do anyone else in Congress because I dropped the ball. I did not stay on the phone like I asked other people to do. I have changed that. And I'm asking everyone else, do the same. Call D.C., give them your thoughts, and if they didn't support it, admonish them. If they did, thank them, and ask them what you can do to get it onto the floor. It's just too important, ladies and gentlemen. The people that are in D.C. think they run the country, and we've got to educate them. We've already given them one lesson. Now it's time for another one. But getting back to firearms and sights and unit training and everything else, the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, that you can practice and work into your training is 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 o'clock in the morning is just an arbitrary time I picked out. But maneuvering through your house in the dark from one end to the other, being able to scan rooms, clear rooms, and locate a threat you hear the back door get crashed in or something. Have your wife or significant other, roommate, don't care, have a plan down. If the guy is the one that's going to go sweep the house and everything else, his wife, the moment that it happens, is on the phone, 911. Always dial 911. I got into the habit several years ago, John, of dialing the local number and explaining something to them that was going on out here, because I didn't want to tie up the 911 line. Big mistake, because a few things in our area and everything went a little bit sour for some people. But it was because I called in to the local number, they didn't consider it was an emergency, because I didn't consider it to be an emergency. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, somebody in your house uninvited is an emergency, and 911 calls will garner a faster response. So, in your practice and everything, that 2 o'clock in the morning, what you do, how you do it, are the kids on the full other end of the house? How do you protect them? Are they old enough to help with the scenario, i.e., hide in the closet, hide under the desk, anything like that? Hiding under the bed, well, they're going to do it, but that's the first place anybody ever looks. Give me a break. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this training that we've been talking about today, work it down to the 2 o'clock in the morning scenario, and then also covering your block, your neighborhood, whatever. But work on that training, ladies and gentlemen. If you can get it down to where at least your small unit of 4, 6, 8 guys, a couple of girls, whatever, can function and communicate with each other and travel, move around, and do it as a team, that's all you really need to work on. You don't have to be professional soldiers and look, really cool with all this stuff that you've bought but never used and get out there and get somebody hurt. So you need to have, in this situation and everything, when it does come to grid down, the snowstorm, whatever, you have to have rules of engagement. Is the person an absolute threat? How is he a threat? Does he have a gun? Does he have a knife? Does he have a bat? Is it idle threats and just blowhard talk, or does this individual really intend to harm someone? So there's 1,001 things that come into this, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're just starting right now to prepare, to look into these situations and everything, feel free to email me, get the information to me somehow off the webpage link or whatever, and we'll do what we can to help you get the ball rolling. Recommend good books, good study material, sources, and go from there. But the main point I wanted to bring out today, John, was wintertime. Most people lay back, and it's relax time. Put on a few pounds, read some books, watch a lot of TV, and relax. And then when the blizzard does hit, they're totally unprepared, just like everyone else. So,
right.
I missed anything in my theory? I'm sure I have, John.
Well, I think you did a pretty good discourse there, Jimmy, and I'm not seeing any glaring errors. If people got a question or comment about what we're talking about, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Typically, I get more reading done in the winter because of the shortened daylight hours myself, and that's one of the few things I look forward to in winter. I don't particularly care for cold weather, although what we call winter here in south central Missouri, people in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and North Dakota would make fun of. But for us, it's winter. but for us, it's winter.
Yes, it is. And it's like this morning, got up, it was 22 degrees here, and the high today is supposed to be like 74, or whatever. It's going to be warming up. It's a nice little warming trend. But to us down here, Teresa just absolutely detests cold. Me, I don't know, I can more or less adapt to anything. But she detests cold. And it's quite cute because sometimes we'll be going out and it'll be in the 50s or something, and she's all bundled up and that little red nose and just all chilly. But, ladies and gentlemen, what we experience here, like John said, it is nothing. It's what you guys would pray for back in some of these areas, especially up around the Great Lakes. So this is a time to evaluate and plan and look at situations, because there's going to be some downtime with winter. So, this is where you can put it to the best use by laying out a plan of what you need to do, discuss it with your friends and neighbors, and it may come down to the point that someone relocates, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say the general consensus between your friends and family is that you've got the better place. It's defensible to one extent or another. Location is, pretty much open to everyone. So discuss how that plan would work. If the grid goes down and the gas pumps don't work, or the blizzard situation and the roads are closed, how are they going to get there? Or if you've got to change locations to go someplace else that's already pre-planned, how are you going to get there? It can become very much overwhelming, ladies and gentlemen, if you try to take all of this in at one time. It goes back to the old Confucius saying, Confucius says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's the same way with your planning, ladies and gentlemen. Lay it all out in a master list, and then sit down with your wife or your children or your roommate or whatever and number those.
Hold that thought. We have a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at theliberty. back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 20th of November, visiting with Jimmy Ginsling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. Jimmy, do you have a pretty good inventory of in stock ready for immediate shipment?
Yeah, we're pretty good right now, and we're building up more as we go. Right now we've got orders going in probably about twice a week, building up inventory and special orders for folks. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's made out there by anybody, you've seen it in an article, you read about it somewhere on the web or whatever, and you're interested in it, I ask, ladies and gentlemen, you give us a call or an email, either one. Again, the email, jimmy@hdc-nm.com, or you can call us at 575-513-2842, or text that number and tell us what you're looking for. Let us see if we can find it and maybe save you some money on it. We always try to save our customers money. A lot of stores and business and everything don't understand that MSRP, they missed the S in there, suggested. So it allows us to, still keep the lights on and keep things going, but also, lower the cost and everything for our customers. And reloading inventory is real fat right now. We've got some body armor coming in and ballistics helmets coming in. So those should be on site probably by the end of the week or early the week after. So just depends on when ups and everything can coordinate and get everything across the country. But there's so much out there, ladies and gentlemen, in the training aspect. A notebook is a valuable thing. And by that I mean, if you've always got a notebook in your pocket and you come up with a thought, or you hear an advertisement, or there's some reference made to some bill or law or something like that, you can always write it down. Keep it in that notebook and keep a notebook with you. Also, it helps out if you're ever involved in an accident or witness an accident or anything, you can whip out your notebook and take notes to hand over to the investigating officers when they arrive. But, well, I guess what it all boils down to, ladies and gentlemen, is information. The more information that you can build on yourself, your neighborhood, planning, routes to move, how to move, what weather conditions, and how you get around in either one of those, all of that comes down to one individual and one individual only, and that's us. You have to look at your situation, we look at our situation, and everyone has to plan to cover themselves. That's one of the great things about RVN listeners, where Google and CNN and the big networks and everything else have people that watch and do as they're told. RVN listeners tend to take responsibility for themselves and their family. And so when John and I are talking about guns, or if him and Doc are talking about health, the other subjects that come up, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the listeners take what they can use and apply it to their own lives, mainly because they're responsible. So that I really am appreciative of. I love our listeners. I get calls, and in fact, even had one call me from Pennsylvania last week, John.
Really? Good.
With some questions about the show. So...
Well, we have an international audience. In fact, on the left side of my home page, there's a spinning globe, and you can get to that website that keeps track of all the people calling from all over the, listening all over the planet, including places that you would never suspect, like communist China and so forth. We got a caller on hold here. We got Pat in Texas. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Pat. Hello, Pat.
Okay, well, I hear you now. Go ahead, Pat.
I have to turn the speakerphone on. Okay, have y'all heard of Robin Sporonis in hateful, Florida?
I have not.
No.
Have you, Jimmy?
No. I don't believe so.
She's famous for off-the-grid living. And the county...
The woman, the city's going after her for not having connected to the water supply in the city?
Right.
Right.
Robin...
Okay. I heard something about that a couple of years back.
We come back from the break, we'll find out what relationship this woman has to firearms, if any. We're out of break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 20th of November. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. As I said earlier, I have a new article and commentary posted at my website. If you scroll down the left side, you'll find it there where it talks about the ICE agent. That's the immigration people, the suicide. ICE agent suicide with my commentary. It's very important. You need to read that. Also, at my website, of course, our energy cleaners is my home business. I just got a fresh delivery of energy cleaners from the manufacturer, Tom Berryhill, the other day, so I have plenty of energy cleaners in stock. I have more mattress pads on the way. It's a busy time of year for the mattress pads with the situation with the holidays and gift giving. Check out the energy cleaner at my website. Only $285 shipping included to American zip codes. And keep in mind, if you have arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, keep in mind I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. You want to get off the dangerous, expensive drugs for your arthritis pain? Well, get yourself an energy cleaner. I do take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. Checks can be sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. Toll-free our line here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Jimmy Ginsling, his website is DesertEagleShooters.com. And, Pat, this woman in Texas, what's the relationship of firearms that she has, if you can tell us, please?
Well, I didn't know that's all you were talking. I was just looking at something on her, and you talking about off-the-grid living.
Right.
It's not firearms. She's complied with everything.
Okay. Well, it's an interesting story, Pat, that she has. We do focus on firearms and the gun culture exclusively on Mondays, but we do appreciate the call.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Jimmy, during the break, I ran across an article that Yale University censored a sculpture on the campus. The sculpture showed an armed Native American and an armed pilgrim, the Native American armed with a bow and arrow, the pilgrim armed with a musket, and they had the musket removed from the pilgrim, leaving the Native American armed, to be politically correct.
Now, what was that about the musket again?
They removed the musket from the sculpture.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you said. I'm like,
right.
You can't fix stupid, John. You just can't.
Well,
I'm so tired of these people trying to rewrite history to the way they would like it to be. And
I got a follow-up on that. I lived most of my adult life in a very nice St. Louis suburb called Kirkwood, Missouri. Very nice suburb. Every high school has a mascot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the mascot of the Kirkwood High School in Missouri is the Pioneer. And up until a few years ago, the image of the Pioneer was this Caucasian male in buckskins, coonskin cap, and a black powder rifle. Well, a few years ago, they changed it so the Pioneer no longer has the black powder rifle to conquer the West with. He has a stick.
I don't know, John. We're in such deep doo-doo.
Of course, the same high school has girls playing full contact football.
Oh boy, I bet that's great.
Yep. I know.
Well, if they're playing full contact football, I guess they can't claim sexual harassment then when they get hit.
Well, my question is, the one woman I was aware of, she was a kicker, and kicker is a target of men, that are basically the size of adults, running as fast as they can, trying to knock her down. So my question is, what happens to this young woman's fallopian tubes when they get hit by a 200-pound man that can run the 100-yard dash in just over 10 seconds?
Yeah. It's to be politically correct, these people are just idiots. I'm sorry. This is a very non-PC area out here in New Mexico. When you come to our front gate, it's very non-PC. I've got a 4-foot by 4-foot Trump Pence sign on the gate, and right beside it is a sign that reads, "If you can read this, you're in range."
Right.
And as you get down our drive, and on the left side is the store and the right side is the house, there's another sign. And it simply states that you are no longer a trespasser, you're a target. So
right.
The warning stands out pretty much. I'm sorry,
well,
John.
I don't blame the children. If a young woman wants to play football, I don't blame her at all. I blame the adults who should be mature enough to understand that. I know when I was in football practice, every afternoon of practice, and we had 2 practices in the summertime, of course, morning and afternoon, I went through the equivalent of, probably 20 low-speed automobile accidents every day, about 20 or so, because I was a running back. And at 6 feet, 175 pounds, I would be running into men that outweighed me by 80, 90 pounds. Big, tough guys whose job was to put me down. And they did, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And a young woman's anatomy. Young men are warriors, and our anatomy can withstand that kind of punishment. But a young female, or any female, doesn't matter how old they are, I don't believe their anatomy, their physique, should be exposed to 15 or 20 low-speed automobile accidents every day for weeks and weeks and weeks.
God tells us that, all through the Bible, Proverbs, the Psalms, the New Testament, that men are to cherish women, that men are to protect women, that they're such a valuable part, and this politically correct garbage that is out here, oh no, women are equal to men. Women can do anything men can do. Well, maybe.
In your dreams.
But the problem is, what does it do to them?
Well, as one problem, there's multiple problems. It puts in combat, of course, it puts the men at risk. The men will risk their lives to protect the women when they should be focused on protecting the group as a whole. But the women will be given a free pass and given special protection, which they should be. Of course, they shouldn't be there in the first place.
Oh, yeah. And, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about on this, we started talking about at the beginning of the show about training and small unit tactics and stuff like that. We are not saying that in the small units and protecting your home and protecting your neighborhood and everything else that the women set aside. No, that's not what John and I are saying. What we're discussing is combat situations where, and sports, full contact sports that people are going to get hurt in. People get hurt in all the time. And women are not, God did not design the woman to sit there and, like John said, take multiple car accidents in one day and then come back tomorrow and do it again. In the subject that we started off with today, the ladies, if your husband is antsy about you participating in this, inform him of a couple of facts. One, women tend to be far better pistol shots even under stress. It's the protect the child mentality, I guess is what you would call it. I'm not sure. But also, women tend to be able to hear a bit better than men, especially when it's night and very, very quiet. Again, it goes back to the woman being conditioned that when that baby whimpers in the next room, they hear it. So, ladies have a very, very special place in any type of protective mode. And in a situation like we're discussing with the grid down or the snowstorm or whatever, guys, don't get into all this big macho Superman stuff. Realize that it's a team effort. And it's like my wife. I can take Teresa out there to the range, and I can keep handing her mags and keeping her guns full. And with a pistol, she is incredibly, incredibly effective. And when you're doing your training, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to, in a real-life situation, the bad guys aren't going to wait for you to get the perfect stance and sight alignment and everything else. So when you go out and you do your training, jog out to the 50-yard mark and back, and then pick up your weapon and turn around and shoot a 5-shot string or whatever. See what happens to your accuracy at that point. Your heart's going to be pounding. Your breathing is going to be irregular. Everything is going to basically go to hell in a handbasket from what it normally is. And I have people sit there that I'll have them do squats. And, do 5 or 10 squats, then get into the prone position and shoot their string. And it's amazing to see how an excellent shooter falls apart when they get the slightest amount of stress. What we're doing in doing this, ladies and gentlemen, is we're simulating stress. And that puts a whole new world on people's confidence when you do that.
It does. It changes everything.
Another thing in your training, individuals are out there practicing. Get behind them with a pot and a pan and bang them together, make noise, yell at them, kick their foot, whatever, distract them, and see how they work under pressure. Because most people are going to get irritated and come apart, and we get them calmed down, explain to them, okay, now, how do we overcome this? And you work through it. Ladies and gentlemen, if it ever did get to the point that all of us suspect that it may, I dare say that 80% of the listeners would be in very dangerous situation. A, with someone shooting back at them, and B, with the noise, the stress, everything that goes on in a conflict. So the better we can train and the better that we can vary our training, I think the better off you're going to be all the way around. John?
I agree. We got a call on hold here. We got Rick in Missouri. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Rick. Hello, Rick.
Off the elevator. Can you hear me now?
We can, Rick. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Roles are a little reversed at my house. We had a kid, my oldest son, who was born 6 weeks early, had apnea and bradycardia, and they had him on a monitor, but I could get to his bedroom when he stopped breathing before the monitor ever went off, before the alarm went off. So I always sleep with like both eyes open. So the not to change the subject, and I'm all about the small group tactics thing, but as I want to mention that yesterday being Sunday, I felt obliged to carry in church and had a 1911 shoulder rig. Earlier in the week, I paced off the distance between where I always sit and the end of the aisle, which would be outside the main vestibule, which would be just inside the church. And it comes up about 20 yards. So I put in a little trigger time at that distance because I thought that might be exercising some prudence. And, you know, when you're hurrying 20 yards with a 1911, that's a little further than I, would typically like to engage things. But that's that looks like what I'm left with at that point. Any thoughts on the matter?
No. Excellent plan that you developed there on that. One thing.
Well, I went and got me. Go ahead. Say again.
The 1911 is a very, very effective weapon out to about 100 yards.
Yeah. Well,
after that,
besides,
the velocity falls off rather rapidly,
sure.
And
right.
accuracy follows. But 25 yards is a common practice for us out here with handgun.
Oh, okay, good. All right, well, yeah, okay. I was feeling a little uncomfortable about that. Especially inside of a place where you might have a couple hundred people. But I got myself one of those GSW 1911 22s. I told John about that a while back, and I can stand around and pop off 100 or 200 rounds without raising any eyebrows, and I don't have to incur a huge bill. So that's why I would encourage people. They're only about, well, Jimmy, you might want to opine there, but I think I had to pay about $250 for that, $275, somewhere right in there. It's it weighs exactly what the standard unit weighs, which I forget is how many ounces now, but it's heavier than some of the cut down ones, the race models, and it's a little lighter than a couple others, but it's right in the middle of the weights that you find throughout the 1911 inventory. So
right.
All the trigger controls are the same, the sights are the same, except, and you still have recoil, although it's not, obviously not as abrupt. But, as far as getting trigger time, muscle control, sight picture, reacquiring for your second shot, all that, you get to do all that, and that is a lot of fun, and I can do that right off my porch. So that's fun.
Well, let me give you a little thing you can do here. You need a helper with
Go
a
ahead.
stopwatch, Rick. Okay.
Yeah. Well.
Now, do you have any steel plates that you shoot at by any chance?
I've got. Well, I can certainly get some of the scrap out of the second garage.
Okay.
Sure.
All he needs one steel plate, and two
Sure.
magazines, and two cartridges. Your stopwatch begins when you hit the steel plate with the first cartridge. Change magazines. The stopwatch stops when you hit the plate the second time with the second magazine. And
I imagine you're going to want to come out of the holster for that, right?
Of course.
Always.
All right. Okay.
John, I got a question
But
for you.
the timings between the first shot and the second shot, that's when the clock runs.
All right. I'll get on it. Thanks.
Okay. Here's our break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 20th of November. Jimmy, that exercise that I described for Rick, it can be done with rifles, shotguns, or pistols. It doesn't matter even a bolt-action rifle, as far as that goes. The clock starts with that first round. The clock ends after the reload, and the second round has hit the steel plate, which is a critical part of the exercise. You have to hit the steel plate both times, or the exercise is over, and you have to finish and start over again. It's a great exercise that develops a very important skill, the skill, of course, reloading quickly, and, of course, emphasizing accuracy at the same time. What do you think, sir?
Oh, excellent. It's an excellent drill. Is Rick still on with us, or did he already
I don't know.
up?
Rick, you there? Rick dropped.
Okay, Rick, if you would, text me the model number of that pistol you were talking about. I want to look into that. Yeah, the training aspect of it, that drill right there, John, and practicing the wall drill at night, or whenever you get a chance, it builds that thing into our brain that allows us to function without thinking. People call it muscle memory. And
well, without consciously, you're still thinking, but you don't have to consciously think about it. Like riding a bicycle. I don't have to think about balance, because it's just part of my subconscious. I don't need to consciously think about balancing a bicycle.
And there's several drills like that, ladies and gentlemen, especially when you go to an Appleseed. When you start working on shooting the AQT, the Army Qualification Test, with the exception of the standing and the slow fire prone, all the other time drills, you have a mag change in there. And the purpose of the mag change is exactly what John's explaining. It is getting your hands and fingers accustomed to everything that goes through quickly and accurately, getting back in the fight, as we say.
Under pressure. And when you know that stopwatch is running, that creates pressure right then and there, immediately.
Pressure on there. Now, another aspect of this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to show you something. If you've got a handgun or a rifle that you hit the mag release and the mag does not drop free on its own weight, then that is something you need to look at. And a lot of times it can be, a little bit of polishing here and there on spots on the inside. Always make the modifications that you have to make to the gun and not the magazine. Because if you do the magazine and then all of a sudden your friend is shooting the same model as you are and you run out and he hands you a magazine, then you're back in the same situation.
There you go. Jimmy, thank you for being with us. We'll look forward to having you back next Monday.
We'll be here, sir. Have a great one, everyone.
Okay. That's it for the day. Get medical supplies, energy, cleaner, essential oils now while you can. Your firearms, ammunition, ever good for your guns. Have a fun, safe, productive day. God bless America.